UI Goku is pretty much a forgotten character in DBFZ now, and for good reason. His buttons are slow, committal, and he doesn't get much reward from them. I'm not saying his damage is bad, but a lot of the time it doesn't make up for the flaws he has. While his defensive tools are still usable if done right, they are still committal and hard to make safe without great focus and reaction. Even Dustloop states that this character requires the user to correctly analyze their opponent and be very mindful of when you need to use what move, because you can easily be punished by enemies in this meta with how fast the game is now. I know people don't want to admit it, but UI Goku is a hard character to master. Yes, I know for years he's been known as the brain-dead fighters player's best friend, aside from these guys, but if you could get that 214H and nerf DP hate out of your ass, his pressure has been easy for most people to navigate and react to, especially his command grab. But thankfully for my fellow UI Goku players, I've been doing a lot of research and labbing to figure out how to play him well enough in this meta, and even though I'm not a hardcore player, I hope this helps people give UI a try, or hold on to him if you were thinking of dropping him. First off, I want to say this now, you likely won't find yourself doing true strings with this character. This is pretty much the truest string you can do with this character alone. It's -5 at the end, so this is safe against pretty much anything. 5LL is also -5 if you want to try something else. Every other string has some sort of gap or just straight up isn't safe. 5H is -13, 5S is too slow to true string but it's -5 too. 6S is also 6 frames now, which is good on its own, but in combos it ruined a lot of his damage, which was pretty good before. With that said, you'll find yourself doing many frame traps with this character, such as 6S to 5H, which you can pretty much do after any string you want. This beats pretty much everything besides reflect and reversals, so that includes any kind of mashing since it's a 3-frame gap, and it also beats jumping, which most people will try to do to escape UI Goku block strings. As I stated before, this frame trap can be reflected, but if you're ready to deal with this, you can punish them by doing a 236H or a flip grab. You can't just throw this out there though and expect to hit the 5H, which could definitely TOD if you know the right combo. So how do we get this to land? Well, we want to make them do something. UI Goku's 236L can be used instead of 5H to reset your pressure entirely by whiffing the move instead of hitting it. This is very good for getting your assist back and making your opponents impatient. Nova Zane uploaded a video going in depth with this. I'll leave that video in the description in case you want to know more about it. Seriously, it's very helpful and he's the GOAT. Back on topic, this frame trap is a bit complex because sometimes you can end up hitting the 236L instead of whiffing it. You can mainly do this in strings like these, or this one, this works on every character to my knowledge. You could also set this up with 5L and 2L staggers in some cases. When you do this kind of string, you can really confuse your opponent because they either stop blocking and try to do something, or sit and block. 236L recovers very fast off whiff at -20, so it's very unlikely they'll be able to react to it and be able to tell if it'll whiff or if it'll hit them. If you feel like they can react to the whiff somehow, you can always 236H, and since it takes 18 frames to hit the opponent, that brings the opponent's window to press a button pretty much 38 frames. Where this frame trap may get a little weird is how certain strings can work on certain characters. This is what I mean. You can still get creative with some characters, but always keep the universal string in mind when you don't know a certain matchup. Moving on, I can't talk about UI Goku's mix-ups without talking about his flips. To refresh your memory, 214L is a 31 frame move that beats jump and is +3 if you hit them on the ground. If you hit them with this while they're in the air, it can go up to +9. 214M is a 31 frame command grab that can beat mashing or work when you pressure them to block. This is very reactable, and even more so now that rollback is here. So, I'm not going to encourage you to not use it, but do be careful because the end lag of whiffing this move makes it insanely easy for you to get punished. 214H is an 18 frame hit grab that can beat mashing if you only tap the button. It's also a defensive tool in some instances where the opponent has a string that's -5 or worse, since that's when he disappears. You can also hold it to flip forward or backwards. You could also press L, M, or S to go into the other options to make it faster. 214H plus S is a cross-up beam, while slow it's still a solid tool to set up properly. 236S and 214S is a 25 frame beam at best, and a 36 frame beam at full screen. It jails it to vanish, but also sets up a super dash frame trap. I made a video on this a while back, but it pretty much beats mashing, especially 2Hs, but loses to literally any kind of reversal. This could be something you keep up your sleeve to throw the opponent off, and you can always just assist or vanish to keep your pressure going since it jails. These moves are pretty much a rock paper scissors situation, except you can pretty much react to most options by jumping. Good players will almost always jump these, but again, with everything I've mentioned so far, it's tough to know when exactly to jump or even to jump at all when you have all these counters. Not to mention that 236L or 236H will catch a jump at any point you want to do it as well, and can lead to great damage if done right. Now we can talk about UI Goku's trump card, DR Crush. A DR Crush only works on players who can pretty much tank Dragon Rush consistently. Feel free to test their reactions with the simple 5L to DR. If they do tech it a few times, this trick will likely work on them since it's using their own reactions against them, yet also rewards you if they don't react, and just block if you choose the right option. A DR Crush essentially confuses your opponent into Dragon Rushing because of the circle being the same as a Dragon Rush, with only the color differing the two. It's hard to tell in the moment which one it will be, and not to mention, even if they do know it's a red circle, which option are you gonna do? Beam, punch, grab, reversal, or flip forward or back are your options. According to Nova Zane, again, he's the GOAT, UI has the strongest DR Crush in the game because his 5L block stun lasts long enough for most players to prepare themselves for a Dragon Rush. And because they'll be ready to tech, this sets up his DR Crush and allows for a great mix-up option if you do decide to go for EX Punch. That could end with you taking a character as well. This DR Crush essentially allows UI Goku to be played at top level, since most players have great reactions and this can throw them off their game and open them up. With that said, combining this with the 236L pressure makes UI Goku much scarier. You're free to get creative with your assists in the beginning, but once you use your assists you can start staggering and whiffing 236L to get them back, leading to your pressure extending and your opponent getting more impatient since most people don't want to block for a long period of time. They didn't pay $60 to block after all. Unfortunately, the execution itself can be really tough. You're essentially playing chess with your opponent on block, which makes UI Goku hard to master. While learning this, you'll find yourself asking the question, when do I do this mix-up? When should I do that one? And my answer? Pretty much whenever you want. I prefer using the 236L pressure after I use one assist at the very least. If my opponent techs DR once, I'll most likely try a DR Crush since I know they can react to it. Otherwise I could sprinkle in 214L, 214M, 214H cross-up beam, whenever I'm in the middle of a true string. Or if I think they'll mash, I'll just 236H. God damn, this character has so many options. But the hard part is guessing what your opponent can do, because if they pick right, there's a good chance they'll punish you. If you just want to play it safe, usually 236L is good to end with at the beginning of matches, because you're testing whether or not your opponent will react to being hit by it, and mash, or reflect. Some DPs and counters will still beat this, so at that point, if you're playing UI Goku, you gotta take the risk to get rewarded. I was planning to make a neutral guide if people wanted it, but it might not be as impactful since UI's buttons are again slow. But if you do want to see that, let me know in the comments or just by liking the video. Hope you all enjoyed, subscribe for more finance content, and UI Goku man, stay up!